Concentration. An article from Charles Fillmore. All people are interested in control of the mind, because it is found that success in any department of life depends upon concentrated mental effort. The difference between success and failure in any movement can, as a rule, be traced to the concentrated and cooperative mental efforts of those engaged in the work. Undoubtedly, the cause of ill health is often a lack of orderly thinking. Order is law in action, and law must have a lawgiver. The lawgiver, in man's consciousness, is I. The one who says I am is the instigator and actor in all concentration. The dictionary often gives good clues to the inner meaning of words which we use freely and understand little. We should remember, however, that we do not get spiritual understanding from the dictionary, but intellectual descriptions only. According to Webster, the word concentrate means to bring to or direct toward a common center, to unite more closely, to gather into one body, mass, or force, to fix, as to concentrate rays to a focus, to concentrate the attention, to increase the strength by diminishing the bulk of, as a liquid or an ore, to intensify or purify by getting rid of useless material, to concentrate the attention. The one thing that we are endeavoring to concentrate upon or through is the mind. You will see that concentration and attention are virtually the same thing. In concentration, all the forces of being should be drawn to one common center in order to get results. We fail in our object often because of lack of continuous attention. A distracted condition of the mind comes of too much attention to too many things. There is an external realm of thought in which things and the relation of things constitute the consciousness of man. Jesus called this outer realm this world. This realm of things and the thought about things often becomes so absorbing that we lose all conscious connection with the realm of ideas, in which all enduring thought has an origin. Things are the multiplied fruit of ideas, and when we give things the preponderance of attention, our ideas are scattered. Therefore, it is futile to try to develop true concentration by using any material object as the point of attention. Some people teach brain concentration, which is better than looking intently at a spot on the wall or at a crystal, but brains are material, and, as matter is the effect of thought, one cannot get the controlling force of mind in that way. To concentrate upon brain centers, without at the same time realizing the ideas which they represent, will result in a scatterbrain state of consciousness. Brainstorms are the result of throwing the whole force of the soul into some exterior channel. The brain and nerve cells are not keyed to the high pitch of the enthusiasm or indignation or anger of the mind, and they break down under the strain, and a brainstorm results. It is true that the one-idea man is the man who succeeds in the world of affairs, but his success is gained at the expense of his health, and he finally breaks down. Concentration in the field of effects is thus constantly being proved to be a failure in bringing about the poise and harmony of a well-balanced mind and body. The understanding that man is spirit, soul, and body, working in harmonious combination, opens a field of action in which all the factors of man's being may be combined and the true office of concentration revealed. That things are moved by spirit and mind is evidenced by the simplest action of the body. Physiology teaches the laws under which the impulses of the mind are sent from brain centers through nerves to muscles. The body has a very efficient telephone system, and all operators will connect the central ego with all its thought people if the necessary attention is given to keeping the service up to divine efficiency. But right here is a factor in efficiency that is usually overlooked in body action, and that is intelligence. Telephone managers know that no amount of mechanical completeness will compensate for lack of intelligence and attention on the part of operators. But man diets, breathes, exercises, and in many material ways develops his body, and then trusts to luck for the intelligent control of this fine animal. However, some very noted athletes have stumbled onto the true law of physical development. Sandow, for example, says he attained his great strength by mentally flexing his muscles. While watching a game of billiards, he says that he, at the same time, gives part of his attention to sending impulses of action to his muscles that need building up. Another, strongest man in the world, says that muscle building is first will building, and that the mind must be strengthened simultaneously with the muscles. He says he puts his mind into his muscles in every act. When walking, he thinks of the muscles in the calves of his legs as a bundle of intelligent, living, steel springs, ever active and never tired. This is a very close approach to the system used by adepts in creating an imperishable body. There is one point that is likely to be overlooked by bodybuilders, and that is that we all live in a great omnipresent ether, which is the source of everything we manifest, whether it be in mind or body. Physical scientists have been telling us for ages about the existence of this ether and its very marvelous properties, but they have not yet stated that it is the source of intelligence. Plato, 425 years before Christ, referred to the ether by that name. Thousands of years before Plato, Hindu metaphysicians taught that there is an interpenetrating invisible ether, which they named the akasa. Their philosophy deals with the proportions of the ether much more minutely than does our modern science. To them, the ether was analyzed in its higher and lower degrees. Akasa was the highest, and astral fluid the lowest. In the first chapter of Genesis, the ether is designated as the earth, without form and void. Heavens refers to the law and order that are above, moving and molding the earth or ether substance. Jesus taught that this kingdom of the heavens was to be set up on the earth, and he showed in parables and by comparisons how it would enter the various activities of the world as leaven, and would finally leaven the whole lump. All substance is directed by mind. In the creation of the universe, we see intelligence manifest everywhere. Consequently, in order to understand how the ether is acted upon, we should aim to get in touch with the mind that controls it. The most condensed and complete scriptural description of this is found in the first chapter of the Gospel of John. Here, the directive intelligence in the ether is called the Word, translated from the Greek word logos, but eminent authorities agree that this translation is wholly inadequate and that the word logos has no equivalent in English. Consequently, it should be transferred rather than translated. All things come originally from the ether or primal substance. We are continually molding this one original substance into form through natural laws in eating, drinking, digesting, and assimilating food. Our bodies are transformers of this universal element. We do not create anything but merely appropriate the different elements in food, air, water, and sunshine. This is the process in the domain of the natural man. But there is a higher expression of this law of appropriation of the original elements of being. The natural man appropriates, or eats, the universal substance and digests it in the alimentary canal, but the mental man appropriates the same essential elements through a process of mind called thinking. Before we can become supermen, like Jesus, we must learn to drink of the universal life and eat the universal substance by mental appropriation. These elements are the life and substance of the universal Christ or cosmic mind. They exist as ideas in the superior realm or heavens of the mind. We cannot see these ideas with the fleshly eye, nor can we, in any way, come into touch with them except through the mind. Hence, we must acquire mental seeing, feeling, hearing, smelling, and tasting. The starting place in this development is believing that there is a realm of being, invisible to the senses but visible to the mind, that this realm is always present, that it is the source of wisdom, love, power, in fact, of all things that appear, and that it can be brought into outer action by continuous mental attention. This mental attention builds up a substance center in consciousness, around which revolve all the powers of man. This substance center is called faith, and was represented in the development of Jesus' mind by the disciple Peter. Jesus gave this disciple the name Peter, which, he said, meant a stone. So, Peter represents the fundamental substance of enduring character in man. The logos represents a combination of substance, life, wisdom, love, power, law, in fact all ideas that exist in divine mind, epitomized as seed planted by God in the soil of man, to be developed, and finally to grow into a perfect expression of a divine ideal man. The Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, as of the only begotten from the Father, full of grace and truth. The Logos or Word, which was in the beginning with God, and which was God, is called in the second chapter of Genesis, Jehovah God. It is formed of 4 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. Scholars tell us that it involves a meaning that represents both the masculine and the feminine of being. So, it is perfectly proper to address God as Father-Mother. Jehovah also means I am, or I-A-U-M. Here is revealed the secret of the lost word. That word is I am, and every time we say I am, we are speaking the name of God. God told Moses that his name was I am, and would be to all generations. I am may be compared to a magnet. At its positive pole, it is Jehovah. At its negative, man. But man has power to lift up his consciousness to the positive pole of being, where he finds himself the Superman, the very Christ of God. The acme of concentration is the discovery in oneself of the real I. This is accomplished through meditation and inner attention. Hindu adepts levitate and do other seemingly marvelous feats by concentrating upon I and intoning their name for the deity. They use virtually the same name that Jehovah gave to Moses, I am. They have over 60 intonations of the sacred name, some silent and some audible. The key to the power they exhibit is the silent affirmation of I and the audible expression AUM or OM. The higher the realization of the spiritual character of I, the greater power in the manifestation AM. Jesus said, "Except ye believe, I am, ye shall die in your sins." He also said, "I am the way, and the truth, and the life, and I am the door of the sheep." The sheep represent the thoughts. They must pass through the door of the I am in order to attain the conscious recognition of the individual. Any thought that gets into man's domain through any other door is a thief and a robber. Such thoughts are infestations, parasites, and contagions. The I am can put these forth by its word of command when it knows its power. It is reported that Alfred Tennyson could, by repeating his own name over and over, put himself into an ecstatic state in which he wrote his best poems. Oriental mystics do the same thing by repeating I, only I. This process by one who does not understand the relation which man bears to universal mind would have no result, except possibly the intensification of the personal ego and the inflation of natural egotism. But to one in the understanding of truth and the relation which spiritual man bears to the one great mind, the repeated identification of the slash with the boundless realms of mind omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent, expands the consciousness and exalts the personality until it disappears in the universal. This is the bliss of the soul, the nirvana of the devotee, and the heaven of the Christian. The concentration usually taught by Western metaphysicians is the antithesis of the higher spiritual concentration. One is to gain control of the realm of effects. The other is for the attainment of spiritual power. Both are legitimate and are in line with creative laws when the planes upon which they act are understood and properly unified. All real creative law begins its action in the absolute and formless realm of infinite mind. From this source are drawn the seed ideas that are planted in the omnipresent substance, or universal ether. These seed thoughts, when planted in good ground, yielded fruit, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. He that has ears, let him hear. The all-potential substance is symbolically described in Genesis as the paradise of Eden. It penetrates and permeates man's body, and he incorporates it into his consciousness through eating, drinking, breathing, feeling, and thinking. When all man's faculties are working in harmony with the law of being, the thrill of life pervades both soul and body and energizes every function with creative power. Man may well be compared to a prism, upon which the white light of the sun is focused and the colors refracted upon the screen of visibility. In order to get a perfect refraction and reflection that show clearly the rainbow colors of the white ray, the prism must be perfect. Man is this prism, and he is necessary to the projection of divine mind into visibility. If we are making contact with creative mind, we are cooperators with God in creation. And just to the extent that we give attention to the God presence and open our minds to its inflow, will we realize our unity. This requires attention systematically and persistently applied, and this is the highest phase of concentration. Not all metaphysicians realize that contact with the causing mind of being must first be made before the outer manifestation is visualized. Jesus said, "But seek ye first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you." Jesus did not say that the money to buy these things shall be added unto you, but these things. Things may come by the money route or independently of it. Good demonstrators of the divine law of supply do not concentrate on money when they desire to attain a certain object. They first get clearly in mind that God is man's all-sufficiency in all things. Then they see or imagine the desired end as fulfilled in idea. Jesus sent forth his disciples without purse or script. He wanted them to learn to depend upon the divine resource. And he said unto them, When I sent you forth without purse and wallet and shoes, lacked ye anything? And they said, Nothing. These were well trained in the divine law of supply and support. They had been with Jesus and had taken part in his many demonstrations. When he increased the loaves and fishes, he first looked up to heaven and blessed. Then he brake and gave to the disciples, and the disciples gave to the multitudes. Looking up to heaven is elevating the thought to the spiritual consciousness. Blessing and breaking represent the continued outflow into the channels of the manifest of that which has been spiritually realized. Truth students do well to bless and praise both the animate and the inanimate because all things are intelligent enough to hold in the soul the words put into them. Even stones retain the memory of what they have passed through, and sensitives, like the wife of William Denton, the geologist, can read the geological history of the rocks. This proves that the most inanimate of nature's products carries an invisible soul envelope that has power to transmit to other intelligences the story of its life. Who shall claim that money is not in like manner charged with the thoughts, feelings, and even the bodily effluvia of those who handle it? It does not require a sensitive to discern that a certain bill has been carried by a tobacco user, an onion eater, or a daintily perfumed woman. The bill tells its own story to the olfactories of those who handle it. On the mental plane, the bill is stamped with even greater potency than on the physical, and those who receive it are often impressed with the pinching economy or generous prodigality of its last possessor. So everything man touches bears the stamp of his thought, and he is constantly sowing broadcast the true or the false in the things which he handles, as well as by the words that he speaks and the thoughts that he thinks. So it is quite in line with true metaphysical law to bless one's money and speak into it words of love, goodwill, and increasing capacity. When this is done by one who has a mind rich with the understanding of man's relation to the great soul of the universe, there is an impartation of richness to all the money he handles. The miser loves his gold, and it is his delight to count the shining coins and gloat over his possessions. This is the love of money that is the root of evil. It is good to be on friendly terms with the soul of money, and to pay out money with a word of blessing to all who may receive it, but one should not hoard it, nor in any way impede its free flow from hand to hand. Meditate upon the great truth that the worlds were framed by the word of God through faith, and that from that infinite mind, man inherits power to speak formative words into his world. The words which he speaks, he shall see made manifest. When man's words are not made manifest in the way which he has decreed, he should not blame God, nor think that it is not God's will that he shall have the thing desired, but he should strive to attain a better understanding of the divine law and give it a more complete expression through prayers, meditations, thoughts, and words. These variously described concomitants of concentration are necessary to the demonstration of the law of which it is the pivotal point of expression. The law always awaits a lawgiver. Law is a rule of action, and every action is governed by law. Whether we recognize it or not, the law governs and holds us under its dominion. When we transgress the law, we break the harmonious flow of life in body or affairs, and the pain or failure that follows is the penalty. When we observe the law, the freedom in thought and act is so complete and harmonious that we have no consciousness of bondage to law. So we find our greatest liberty is in giving ourselves up to the divine law and making daily prayers for wisdom, to the end that we shall know the will of God and do it. This is the supreme concentration of one who, like Jacob, builds a ladder for ascending and descending angelic thoughts between heaven and earth. When man quickens his faith in spiritual forces, he becomes Peter, and what he affirms in his earthly consciousness is established in the heavenly, and what he denies or looses in the earthly is set free in the heavenly. In this way, the man of faith calls to action heavenly powers, and he becomes a worker of seeming miracles. But man should not use this power to call down fire from heaven upon his enemies, as the disciples of Jesus proposed. Many a promising metaphysician defeats his work by mentally quarreling with the law. There may be no outward expression of this thought undercurrent. It may not be destructive nor violent in words outwardly expressed, but it exists as a conviction of the right to put a secret personal estimate upon people and their motives. We also have a habit of sizing up the world, individually and collectively, and letting our conclusions sink back into the secret recesses of the subconscious, where they work in gangs, with thoughts like, "I'd like to give you a piece of my mind," and "I hope I'll have a chance to do it sometime." Secret thoughts seem quite innocent, because we would not for the world give them voice or place in our lives, and we have no idea that they are the cause of many unfulfilled demonstrations of the law, which we seem to have carried out strictly according to the science of mind. These subconscious evil thoughts are the adulteries that proceed from within and defile the man. Thorough concentration casts out these secret sins, and denial dissolves the thought entities that adulterate the stream of pure truth flowing forth from the throne of the I Am. Here is a good statement to use in this connection: "Cleanse thou me from hidden faults." A wise metaphysician is careful about harboring thoughts of opposition or resistance, because they tear down secretly the thought structures he has built up by his concentrated efforts. It is absolutely imperative to establish the law of love as an active principle in thought, word, and act. Love is the magnet and harmonizer of the mental and the physical worlds. Love is the oil that eliminates the friction between cold logic and exact law, between ignorance and its culprit, between judgment and its penalty. Love is the mercy and compassion of infinite mind, and if I have not love, I am nothing. God is love, and man, his image and likeness, is also love. Hence, the supreme concentration of the devotee must be upon this essence and core of the soul, love. End of article.